make a quick video today to talk a little bit about what we just witnessed today at the Monte Carlo Masters. Most of you have probably seen the match and know the results of what took place today, but I think this is significant enough that it's worth discussing, it's worth talking about. And before I begin on analyzing this match and talking about this match between Nadal and Rublev today, I want to make sure and say, Nadal is an absolute legend, and all due respect to him, clearly he didn't have his best stuff today. He didn't have his best game today. That was obvious, but he clearly didn't serve as well as he normally does, and didn't get a lot of free points off of serve, and he often does that as well. However, a lot of the reasons why he lost his serve, I believe 6 or possibly 7 times, was because of Rublev's phenomenal returns. So it wasn't just that he wasn't serving well. It is a combination of him not serving as well as he usually does and not hitting his spots, but also Rublev's returns were just spectacular. And, I've been in this game for over 30 years, and I have to say that the only person that I've ever seen return much better than that in a match like that would be Djokovic and Andre Agassi. 2 of the greatest returners, Djokovic arguably the greatest returner of all time. In my opinion, he has taken the return to a completely different level. But what's significant about this match between Rublev and Nadal today is not what Rublev did, as incredible as that accomplishment is. The greatest challenge in our sport is to beat Nadal on clay. That's a great tribute to Nadal and his greatness and his legendary status. There's no question whatsoever who the greatest player in the world ever to walk the planet on clay is. It's Rafael Nadal. And he deserves that respect, and he has earned that, clearly, with 13 French Opens, a record that will undoubtedly never be eclipsed, in my opinion. But what impressed me the most today about what Rublev did is not what he did, but how he did it. And that's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit. We witnessed a transition in the men's game today. Not only did we witness history, because clearly it's that difficult to beat Nadal on clay, but all due respect to Nadal, he clearly did not have his best game today. He didn't execute as well as he normally does. But that was also due to because of how Rublev played and how aggressive he was. He reminded me of Andre Agassi in that he would take control of a point with one shot, and then he would never relinquish that control. And most of the match, if you got a chance to watch it, and if you didn't get a chance to watch it, I gotta highly recommend that you go watch this match. Most of the match, Nadal was on the defense, and Rublev was dictating play. Now, there were times in the second set where Nadal was able to make some adjustments and start changing things up a little bit. and dictate play a little bit more. He was down 4-1 in the second set, as you recall, and he was able to make some adjustments and to come back. And when it became 4-all, it looked like, okay, here's your typical situation where Nadal maybe doesn't play very well in the first set, but then he comes back in the second set and he's able to right the ship, so to speak, and win the second set and then usually win the third set pretty easily. And I imagine there were a lot of people who thought that that's exactly what was going to happen today. But clearly he was able to win that second set and make some adjustments and win that second set. But the third set, in my opinion, was never in his hands. Rublev just completely took that set and just played too good. Now, nothing against Nadal. I'm a great fan of Nadal. I admire him tremendously, and he is an absolute legend in our sport. But today, Rublev was just too good, and that's when you have to shake your opponent's hand and say, "Well played, too good today." Nadal did not have a great serving day, but Rublev returned phenomenally well. But what I wanted to address when I mentioned earlier, it wasn't what Rublev did, but more importantly, how he did it. And that was some of the shots that he was able to execute today we've not seen before, and certainly not on that level. This was, to me, a transformation in the men's game in terms of showing a different level in terms of different types of shots. And one in particular was, there were many times, and if you got a chance to watch this match, you saw this. There were many times when Rublev was stretched out on his forehand and he was completely almost in the splits, sliding, and was able to get the ball back. He can't use a lot of body in that position when you're stretched out like that, but he was able to get the ball back with just his arm and wrist, and offensively, oftentimes just staying in the point, getting the ball back deep, but often being offensive from a defensive position. Now, I have seen players do a half volley from the baseline. Federer is phenomenal at this, once in a while in a match. But this was something that happened over and over and over and over again in this match when he was on the defense. So you have to give credit to Rublev for his defense in this match as well as his offense. His defense was phenomenal. When Djokovic changed the game with his sliding open stance two-handed backhand, prior to that, we'd never seen anybody hit that shot offensively. Now, you remember, there's a lot of players who can hit an open stance backhand, but I'm talking about sliding in the splits, essentially, and getting the ball back offensively. I've seen Djokovic win matches and hit winners from that position. No one's ever been able to do that except maybe Nadal. Nadal has been able to do it on his backhand at times as well. But this is a shot, in my opinion, that changed the game. And you now see players going out and practicing this, practicing sliding and hitting open stance, sliding and hitting stretched out, because this is something that allows you to play a different level of defense. Now, I've seen it on the backhand before, and Rublev has that shot on his backhand as well. But I had never seen a player use it as effectively as he did on his forehand. Many, many times it looked like he was in trouble in the corner on the defense, and he was able to at least stay neutral in the point and get it back deep, or take control of the point, or even move Nadal from that position. So in other words, creating an offense or being offensive, if you will, from a defensive position. And this is something that the great players can do this. This is perhaps a precursor to what we might see from Rublev. Now, that being said, it is far too early to start talking about, Rublev winning majors and all these different kinds of things. He has the potential to absolutely do that, but there are a lot of factors involved, and he's still young. He's still learning. He's still learning how to use his weapons and play the right way. But if he is able to do so and put his weapons together strategically and play the right way, he's going to be awfully tough to beat on any surface. And he clearly has the ability to play on all surfaces. He's proved that. But he's got the firepower, he's got the shots to challenge for the number one spot in the world once the big three have retired. In my opinion, that's a few years away still. I don't see anyone beating those guys, the big three, that is, consistently for still a few years. They're going to win, in my opinion, most of the Grand Slams. Now, once in a while, someone may have a great couple of weeks, and one of them doesn't play well enough, and someone's going to get through like Murray did, and like Wawrinka has, and now congratulations to Dominic Thiem joining that group as well. But guys, we watched something today, in my opinion, that is a transformation in the men's game. We saw shots. We saw a player executing shots from positions on the court that, I got to tell you, I've not seen its equal before, other than Djokovic. I've not seen anyone play that well and perform that well against Nadal on clay, other than Djokovic when he was in his prime. Now, that being said, all due respect to Nadal. That is not to downplay him in any way, shape, or form, but Rublev just simply played too good today. And clearly Nadal didn't have his A game, but if you look at the stats, if you look at the winners, if you look at he was outplayed on return. He was outplayed, outserved. Clearly, both forehand and backhand. Nadal made some uncharacteristic unforced errors, or some uncharacteristic errors, if you will. But some of those errors are forced errors because of the style of play of Rublev. He was aggressive. He took control of the point right from the beginning. And then he never relinquished that control. He also served phenomenally well. Nadal was unable to make much inroads on his serve because he was hitting his spots and putting Nadal on the defense, and Nadal could get the ball back into play, but he wasn't able to do so offensively. He could get back to a neutral position, but wasn't able to take control of the point. That allowed Rublev to come in and hit the big forehand in the corner and take control of the point, or take the two-hander up the line and take control of the point. Now, if you noticed, what Rublev did today was, he'd hit back and forth to Nadal's backhand, or to Nadal's forehand cross court, and he'd hit 5 or 6 shots like that, and then he would take it up the line. This is what gave Nadal so many troubles with Djokovic, is that two-hander up the line. Also, Rublev is a tall guy. So when Nadal's serve was kicking up, he's able to just step in and take that on the rise, or he's tall enough that for most people it would be up above their shoulder, but for him, it actually isn't. And that's an advantage as well. And so this was something, again, phenomenal match, historic match from the standpoint of someone playing that well against Nadal. Now, by no means does this mean that Nadal is going to struggle on clay. Clearly, he's the greatest player that ever played on clay. But today, Rublev performance was extraordinary. He had a game plan clearly, and he came out and he was able to execute it. And when someone is that good and executes their game plan that well, you've got to be essentially perfect on the other side of the net, or you're going to lose. And it's that simple. And Nadal, the class act that he is, never makes excuses. Just says, look, I didn't play as well today. I made too many mistakes. And I agree that he didn't serve as well as he normally does. But I believe that even if he would have served as well as he normally does, it would still have been a very, very difficult match to win, because when the points did get started, the points were neutral, and more often than not, Rublev was able to take control of those points. This is something that I haven't seen anyone be able to do against Nadal on clay, except for Federer for a few sets. I've seen Federer play that well against him, and I've seen Djokovic be able to do it consistently on clay in his prime. If you go back and look, Djokovic beat Nadal in finals on clay 5 or 6 times. And this is something where, you look at Nadal's record at the French Open, it's just ridiculous, for lack of a better term. I think he's lost, 2 matches in his entire career at the French Open. Soderling, and I'm trying to remember, I think there's one other one. The point is, this guy is the greatest player on clay, bar none. There's absolutely no question about that. But again, guys, I think this is a historic match. I think we'll look back on this match as, in my opinion, something that changed the men's game. The way that Rublev played, the aggressive nature of his play, and then having the athletic ability to be able to execute those shots, stretched out, sliding, and hit offensively, open stance, sliding forehands on the run, some on the run, some sliding, same thing on the backhand. If you watch this match, the defense of Rublev was equally as impressive as the offense. And you can't beat Nadal on clay without having both. This is one of the reasons why Djokovic has given him such trouble on clay, in my opinion, and on other surfaces, is he is the greatest defensive player I think the sport has ever seen. And Nadal's defense is phenomenal as well. Nothing against Nadal. All due respect to the legend himself. But this match was extraordinary and significant, in my opinion. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it. The strategy that Rublev was able to execute, clearly being very, very aggressive, looking for opportunities to be aggressive and dictate play, take control of the point early, serve well, and then take control of the point off the first ball if he could. If not, get into a rally and then take control off of the point in the middle of the rally, and then not relinquish that control. So you saw a pretty good example of the strategies that are effective and can be effective against Nadal. And this was something that I think we'll go back and we'll look at for a long time as a transitioning match, not just because the outcome. This is one match, and as I said in the beginning, Nadal. It wasn't what Rublev did today. In my opinion, it was how he did it that was so extraordinary. The way that he played, the way that he was able to execute, the way that he was able to use his weapons at the right time and take Nadal out of his game, out of his comfort zone, because he was, on the defense most of the time. It reminded me of Andre Agassi, the Punisher himself, in his prime. He would take control of a point, often off the return of serve, and or in the middle of a point. He'd just add an injection of pace, and then he would never relinquish that control. He would run his opponent side to side to side to side, and we've all seen that. This reminded me of that today. And once again, all due respect to Nadal, legend of our game. Wasn't his day today, but all congratulations to Rublev. Clearly an up-and-coming superstar in this sport. If he can stay healthy, if he can learn how to use his weapons even more effectively, can always improve, he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. There are many players coming up. I really, really like Jannik Sinner. And I know Djokovic was able to beat him in this tournament, and then Djokovic lost to Dan Evans. But this is someone to watch, in my opinion. Jannik Sinner has the firepower to take control of a point from anywhere on the court at any time. I have not seen a player come up that has that kind of firepower besides Rublev and Jannik Sinner in a long, long time. And he has the same power, Sinner I'm talking about, off both sides. Usually when you see someone hit their forehand, if their forehand is their weapon, their backhand will be much weaker and consequently slower. Not the case with Jannik Sinner. And frankly, not the case with Rublev. So again, guys, great match today. If you have not seen it, go check it out. Monte Carlo Masters, Nadal versus Andre Rublev. Leave, if you like the video, leave any comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the match in the comments below. And once again, key things that I would take away from this match. Number one, Rublev's ability to execute his game plan, but having the firepower, the weapons, the tools to be able to execute the way that he did. It's one thing to have a strategy. It's another thing to have the ability to carry it out and then be able to execute the way that he did. And that's what it takes. That's what it takes to beat the great Nadal on clay. Again, guys, go check out the match if you haven't seen it. It was one that I felt like I needed to, I wanted to talk about because I do think it's historic. I do think that it's going to change the game. And I think one last thing, the game is evolving, and I think we all can see that. As the game has evolved and as the game has gotten bigger, the ball is being hit much, much harder. The game has gotten so much more powerful. And you would think that if the ball is being hit that much harder, that the points would last or wouldn't last as long or would be shorter. And the actual opposite is the case. We are seeing more 15 and 20 plus ball rallies on the tour on all surfaces than we ever have before in this game. And this speaks to the science, this speaks to the athleticism, the strength, the speed of these athletes. These guys are the greatest athletes in the world, in my opinion. I played all sports growing up. And in my opinion, they're some of the greatest athletes in the world. They do not get the respect that they deserve, the tennis players. And again, this is something that it's incredible to see how the game has evolved and what is happening with the game. And it's become so powerful and so athletic. And I think that that's what I'm speaking to when I say that this was a transition of the men's game. We saw a level of tennis today that is going to force everyone to get better. To Nadal's credit, when he lost some matches, when Djokovic was in his prime, he lost some matches to Djokovic, and he said, look, I just got to get better. That's all there is to it. And he did. He went out and he got better. When Tiger Woods came onto the golf scene, he showed everybody a whole different level of the game. It was unreal how much better he was than anyone else that was out there. And it became very, very clear that in order to compete, everybody was going to have to get better. They were going to have to get stronger. They were going to have to practice more. They were going to have to, look at a serious look at their diet and nutrition. Everything was going to have to get better, or they just were not going to be able to compete at all. And the level of tennis that we saw today speaks of that to me. The other thing that I want to say is, as this game is evolving, I think you're going to see players develop different shots that do not really exist today. Meaning, I believe that as time goes on, players are going to be able to hit equally as well a two-hand or a one-hand backhand. And they're going to be able to decide which one to use. I know that's kind of a crazy prediction, but I think that's the direction this game is headed. We're going to continue to evolve. It's going to get fast, more athletic, but I do believe that there are distinct advantages to a two-hand backhand, especially on return. And then there are advantages to a one-hand backhand versus the two-hand when you're stretched out wide. If you can use the slice, clearly you want to do that. But I'll tell you, in my opinion, I'll own this. It is something that I think we're going to see. You're going to see people be able to hit those shots equally as well and be able to utilize them when they need to. Be able to discern or determine, if you will, what the circumstance calls for. What is the best shot to use in this particular situation, and they're going to be able to do that. That's just my opinion. We'll see what happens. But again, leave any comments below, guys. Would love to hear your comments, and I want to thank everybody for all the support with Insight Tennis. We're growing. I've been out of the game for quite a while, but I'm back, and we're creating new content, and we'll be doing a lot more of that in the coming weeks and months. So watch for the new content coming out, the new programs coming out. Always check out the website at insighttennis.com. And thanks so much, guys, for your support. Leave your comments again below. And as always, appreciate your time. And we'll see you next time out on the court.